But anyway, go ahead, please, about the butter.
Oh, yeah.
So there's an acid in butter that
Mhm.
actually cleans out your arteries.
Oh,
Really?
okay.
And it's in several other meat. But so there are, I can't remember how many. It's just like six different fats that if you break them down, that they're either good or bad. When they
Yeah.
originally came up with the idea that fats were bad, they just lumped all the fats together.
Oh,
Uh, and so there's two that you need that you can get from eating meat, but only the bad ones are in beef, and only the bad ones, I believe, are in egg yolks.
huh.
Uh,
Interesting.
Yeah. Well,
so
any kind of saturated fat is bad for you, but there's others that are.
it's not from saturated fat. It's like it started with an S, not saturated. It sounded like the term for aspirin, but it wasn't. Wasn't.
I'm not sure about that.
I might get my hand free, but yeah.
But
So eating the meat,
mhm.
uh, they say moderation. They're saying
Yeah, right.
of any type of meat, you only need 30 grams per week.
Hmm.
30 grams.
Yeah, it's not very much.
Yeah. Well, yeah, to get certain proteins. Yeah. Uh, they have a full range of protein. You can get it from chicken as well as you can get it from beef, or from fish, just as well. So
Right, but of the balance of the fats that are good, uh, like fish and chicken had more, and the more you got closer to beef, the worse it got.
yeah. Hmm.
Well, any of the, I mean, even like a steak, like saturated fat, is better for you than the Franken fats, as they call them, the hydrogenated oils. You might as well eat a steak than eat, crackers with all that partially hydrogenated junk in it.
Yeah, well, hydrogenated fats are the ones that are usually called saturated. That's one of that are those are saturated fats because they're hydrogenated. That makes them
Okay, well, I
saturated.
guess yeah, but it's an artificial, the way they add the hydrogen or so. I can't remember all the details now. It's in
Right.
my
Right.
Dr. Sears nutrition book. That I bought when I was a new mom. But I remember when I first learned about that because I didn't know about hydrogenated oils. This was back maybe 2000. And then when
Mhm.
I looked, I'm like, oh my God, it's in everything. It really
Yeah,
is. It's in crackers, cereal, and now they've done some to kind of take it out of things now. But there's also, and it's been years since I looked at it, but there was this way that there was a loophole on the nutrition labels where they could say, like, you say you take a loaf of bread, right, and it's got partially hydrogenated oil in it, but it's lower on the list, so it's not maybe as high. But
Yeah.
if it didn't have a full gram of the trans fats, the hydrogenated oil trans fats, if it was, say, half a gram, they could claim it as zero.
0%. Yeah. Right.
So if you
Right.
actually made a sandwich with two pieces of bread, then it did have it. So it was like, I think you should just read the ingredients and ignore the labels, basically, because
yeah,
they're always looking for ways to, trick people with that.
But you have to
So,
be educated to know what's really going on.
uh-huh.
There's a reason you can learn by reading the labels you know,
Right.
and go to what I learned a lot from going to a VA nutritionist. Best part of the healthcare system I've really found is I went to a VA nutritionist and found out about eating
Mm-hmm.
healthfully.
Mm-hmm.
Who wouldn't think that would happen, through healthcare? But that's one of the things healthcare prevention is one of the biggest things we're missing by not having a single payer system because we don't have prevention built into the system, which includes learning how to eat properly.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
That would put it would make people healthy for a longer balance of their lives. It would make them healthier during the lives that they live. So just having that available. To be educated, realize it's important to know that those things.
Right.
Right now, we have all this advertising. They promote the eating sugar and fat, and those are the ones they try to sell the most because they make the most profit out of them. So,
Yep. Well, I remember it was the trans fats and then also corn syrup. When you look and see how much, I mean, I have a tremendous sweet tooth, I admit it, but I don't eat, like, I don't want, if I'm going to have dessert, I'm going to have dessert, but I don't like sugar in my, like, pasta sauce or other stuff. So, but if you look through ingredients of just things like that, pasta sauce or whatever, there's all this hidden corn syrup. So if you add up, like, say, if you eat that and you drink soda and you eat dessert, you're getting a ton of sugar, like where you don't even think you're getting sugar. So
Yeah, cornstarch is a filler. I'm diabetic, or borderline diabetic, and one thing you need to know is that starches are just as dangerous for diabetics as sugars are.
Yes. Well, there's no difference. They become sugars.
Right. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. I mean, if you eat a lot of starch, same thing as eating sugar. For a diabetic, and it's something a diabetic needs to learn how to control and get starches out of his diet. Wrong kinds of starches, or tons of starches. Like you have an entire diet made up of corn syrup and starch, fat, and just be bad for you. But did you ever see that thing about the McDonald's? This couple, they did an experiment, and there's a movie about it. And they
Supersize Me?
Huh?
Supersize Me?
No, he's talking about the one where
it was about supersizing, right? This couple, the guy, he went into
Morgan Spurlock,
McDonald's and/or Wendy's. I think it was McDonald's, and he went every time he said he would go and eat 3 meals a day at McDonald's.
Yeah, right. Morgan Spurlock, he's great.
And they said supersize me. He had to get whatever the super was, and then he had to eat all of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
In 3 months, he was about to die. His doctors told him to get this diet. It's killing you. 3 months eating McDonald's 3 meals a day.
There's that great scene where he just throws up out the car window.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't see it. I don't remember that, but I have a copy of the movie. It's very well worth seeing.
So do I. Yeah.
But they should show that darn thing, but one time a week, whether you like it or not, on every day on outlet there is.
Yeah, they should.
They should show it in the schools.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that should be part of the curriculum. No,
absolutely, they should show it in the schools.
That should be part of the single payer system. That should be required viewing for anybody who's a patient.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? I think it's unfair that. I mean, look, when you grow up on that food, it really is hard. I mean, that tastes like nourishment to you, that's the stuff that I didn't have that problem. Maybe one thing my mother did right, the small bit of time I lived with her, she was, I mean, we had carrot sticks and, we didn't eat that stuff. So I never developed that taste for that food. But I had friends that, were always struggling with dieting because that just tasted good to them. To me, it doesn't. I don't like it. I can't eat it.
My brother's always saying it doesn't taste good. He eats for taste. He lives to, and he has certain tastes that he loves, and other things. Yeah, anything that isn't healthy, he doesn't like it, man. I mean, it just tastes terrible to him.
Right.
Anything's healthy.
Yeah, that's too bad. Oh, I got a funny story. My sister Jill. Her son, one time we were at I think it was a Whole Foods or a food co-op food bar thing, and he was about, maybe 5 or 6, and I got him, made him a plate, and he wanted one of the sodas. So I got him a natural soda, and I told him he could have dessert. I was like, you got to eat, this other stuff first. So I get him some veggies and put the plate down, and he just looks at me and he goes, "My mom says I'm not allowed to eat that."
Oh.
He thought that would work if he said, "My mom said I'm not allowed to eat the vegetables."
Nice try.
Yeah, it was great. It was hilarious.
I didn't find the chart I was looking for.
Oh.
But I found something similar. That one of the acids that you get, there are 400 different fatty acids. You talk about, saturated or unsaturated. There are 400 different types of fats.
Right.
And we haven't adequately studied what all of them do to our bodies and what. So we blanketly got rid of butter, but our diet almost needs to consist of butter from a goat, a cow, or a sheep. It's called butyric acid, and it helps it helps reduce inflammation in membranes,
Right.
like
Right.
your stomach lining,
Hmm.
and that now we're using it for a treatment Crohn's disease.
Oh,
Huh.
really?
Yeah, and then with beef, they're finding that eating beef, no matter what, it has the ability to slow down progress of MS.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
Okay.
not like beef jerky, not Slim Jims,
Mhm.
whatever the one is that has the commercial with Bigfoot. Just regular, meat out of the case,
Hmm.
not multiple processed meat.
Yeah, right.
And
Fresh
so
meat.
so what happens is really I'm overweight, and that's from not lack of moderation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No matter what, it's lack of moderation.
Portion size is very important. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. With
So
that,
I had some severe injuries when I was a kid, so I was constantly having infections and bleeding, and I needed to eat like 4,000 calories a day.
Hmm.
After I had surgery to repair some of the damage, I didn't need to have so many calories anymore. But my whole life, I grew up in my brother was overweight, and he probably had the metabolism that I would have had if I hadn't had the injuries. So my brother, I can remember being on a diet of 500 calories a day, and he had to take shots.
Wow.
And so my grandparents would give me money to go eat at a restaurant, and so I never went without, getting like a hamburger, a fish sandwich, fries, shake, and a pound of M&Ms.
Ah.
right. Mhm.
I didn't go to McDonald's. I went to a place called Henry's. But
But so you
yeah.
developed that taste for that food, right? And that was
I
like
developed,
comforting.
yeah,
And,
that
yeah.
habit for eating that much
right.
that it feels like
Right.
not eating when I don't. And it's like I had to start teaching myself, and I've lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, but having met you in person, Mitch, I mean, you're really not that heavy. I think sometimes you're at an angle, like you said on the camera. The camera always adds weight, but having met you in person, you're not that. You don't have that much to lose. Didn't seem to me.
I got about 120 to lose.
120.
Nice.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, you're wrong, Kelly.
Okay, maybe I don't know. Well, you're taller. How tall are you?
I'm 5'11".
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it's 280. I got 100 to lose yet.
Okay.
Compared
Well,
to
I'm sure it'll be better for you to do that, but
Now, those weight charts always have. There's nobody in hell, pardon my language, can actually look at a weight chart for your height and your build. They're always like 30, 40 pounds less than human beings can be, I think,
Mm-hmm.
But it looks that way. I'm 5'7", I weigh 183 right now, and I've lost 26 pounds over the last year,
Mm.
But I've lost 70 pounds.
Oh wow.
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, that's cool.
Over the last 3 years, and so for me, it is learning to eat smaller portions.
Mm-hmm.
And Monday, I'm getting a smaller pan. It's silly how the little stupid tricks work on your brain, even when you know you're doing them.
Uh-huh.
But I've gotten, before I got rid of all my big plates. Now I got rid of the big plate.
Right. Yeah, you should have a 9-inch plate, or where don't have his big. Chance to eat great big bowls, great big things. He makes a salad and it's like 2 or 3 course.
Well, it's salad. That's good.
So, that's part of his problem. And one thing you have to realize, if you're eating healthily, you do have times when you're hungry. And hunger is not a disease. You feel hungry a lot of times.
Right.
If you never feel hungry, you're eating too much.
Right. Exactly. Well, one of the things, we talked about it before, but especially when Lucas was on and talking about the garden that he was trying to get going at his community college.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
it would be one of the greatest things we could do for education. And I am glad Zoe and I did this at her charter school before we left. Is we got a garden going there. I never really saw it come to full fruition. Hopefully they kept it going. But I think if kids could, we're so far removed from, food we grow. Like I've been through a checkout line with produce where this like 18-year-old kid didn't know what some of the stuff I was buying was. Like didn't know what a radish was.
Right.
I mean, it's not his fault. It's just we're so far, I mean, with some people, maybe it's laziness, but I think a lot of people, they're working 2 jobs and parents are just going through the drive-through and who has time to do all this. But if we could implement education at school, it would be science education and that hands-on learning where kids could grow food. And there is a edible schoolyard is the name of the
That's like what they call it, the food desert. That's the downtown urban area.
Right. But
I mean, there's no grocery stores, there's no
Right.
green or anywhere. So all you have is carry out food, and that's what those
Yeah.
people. And one reason that they have bad health,
Yep.
Yep.
they
But-
don't eat food.
Right.
You might-
But you
You
don't.
might not believe this. I'm in Iowa. On the other side of that black curtain, there are 2 4-foot tall lemon trees.
No, that's awesome. See, and I think kids would have fun and it would be healthier.
Mhm.
My coffee
Yeah.
bush is still recovering. I'm probably going to have to buy new coffee bushes, but I learned, I wanted to see how bad can I get? How bad can I go before I kill one? And so I've got new crop back there, and I've got more tomatoes coming in, more peppers, and there's no reason you can't do it in these empty stores. Even in Los Angeles, there's empty stores. People could be growing the stuff.
There were some, before I cut cable completely, there were a few things I watched, but CNN, Anthony Bourdain, of course, and once a year I would get my kids sit down and we'd watch the CNN Heroes. I don't know if they're still doing this. Anderson Cooper used to host it. And I would sit there and mute the commercials so my kids wouldn't be exposed to the commercials. That's how fanatic I'm serious. That's what I did.
Okay.
And but anyway, they had a really great program called CNN Heroes where they would actually award people that were doing all these great things like the urban gardens. I mean, it was people doing stuff across the world. Some of them, I'm trying to remember, there was a doctor that was like helping homeless people in Chicago, like a mobile unit to treat them when they didn't have health care. And there would be like different people, I don't know, the water purification stuff, Mitch. But anyway, they would go through and do a whole show, or maybe it was like 2 shows. It was like a series, and then they would award one of the people a CNN Hero Award, and they would donate I can't remember how much it was, but some large amount to their.
They had that on this spring. They had it on. It was like a whole week or 2 weeks. Every night they had CNN Heroes. They featured them for a week.
Oh, okay. See, I think why don't we do that and let kids see that instead of the Kardashians? Like show that this is like something to aspire to, and like this gets awards, and I don't know. I thought it was cool, but I haven't even paid attention. It used to be on at Thanksgiving. But anyway, that was back when Anderson Cooper did something useful other than stand next to Kathy, what's her face, with the severed head, Kathy Griffin. Is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
That had the severed head like it was Donald Trump. Do you remember that whole stunt?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, God. But she and Anderson Cooper do the New Year's Eve ball drop thing, and it's just atrocious. It's horrible to watch if you have ever seen any of it.
Yeah,
They don't do it anymore.
No. Oh, okay, good.
She's persona non grata.
She's what?
She is not allowed on the network anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, I used to think she was kind of funny, but geez. Like we talked about last weekend with Krish, and we were talking about American comedy shows and stuff. It's not even funny anymore. It's just so stupid. Just anti-Trump stuff all the time. Not even amusing. Anyway, hey, did we, so we're not on Twitter or, well, I hope not. Hang on. I think we're just on YouTube. Did you put do you want to put the Zoom link? I doubt anybody will come on, but if they want to, they can. We're just shooting the shit. We are. I had a great conversation yesterday, though, with a guy named Dave. Please check out his channel. It's Save America, Vote Tulsi Gabbard. He is a former Republican, independent, strong supporter of Tulsi Gabbard and, the whole cutting the military budget and all that stuff. And he is just, I really like this guy. He's spot on with so many things. It's just very reasonable and great to talk to. And I think he represents a lot of people in this country that are independents and the non-voters too, Rich. So anyway, I did that yesterday with him, but we haven't really been online that much. I did that yesterday, and then last weekend we had Krish, the comedian, was on.
Yeah, he's one of the politically active, and that's only 1/3 of the country. 66% don't vote.
Right.
More than that don't do anything besides vote.
Right. But what we talked about was a bit, we went over the CFAR and CWAC a little bit. We kind of got sidetracked. I wanted to go over Movement for a People's Party platform too, but it's kind of all overlapping, right? And we talked about all the things that we kind of can see eye to eye on, and that independents across the country and probably non-voters, if you sat down and talked to them, and strip the labels away.
Now, one of those things was abortion. I watched.
Yeah. Oh, did you see? Okay.
And that's something when Ross Perot ran in 1992, the United We Stand America, one of the main ingredients of that was not to dwell on controversial issues. It was to dwell on what needed to be done, not what people disagreed about.
Right.
Keep that out. And when Pat Buchanan decided to run for president, who's a Republican, in the year 2000, he was an anti-abortion person, and he split up the Reform Party. He destroyed the Ohio Reform Party with those issues. Because one half this way, one half the other way, and all of a sudden we weren't together anymore.
Right.
Destroyed our unification, our unity, the purpose.
Well, I think
what Pat Buchanan was sort of like a Trojan horse. He was sent in by the Republican Party to destroy the Reform Party, I believe.
Okay, that makes sense.
Acting in their behalf when he ran for president, he got the Reform Party nomination of half of the party. The other half of the party had John, what's his name, nominated someone else, so we were split in half in the year 2000. So, I mean, it's easy to divide people when you get into those issues, those divisive issues, And abortion is definitely one of those, So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think some of them we can't ignore, they're just too important to ignore. I mean, there's stuff like, what was the one we kind of pushed to have on Contract for American Renewal when we were with Victor was about, having, I can't remember how it was worded, but, having like cops wear the body cams or whatever. I can't remember how we worded that. Does that ring a bell, Brian? Do you remember how? I forget how we.
Please.
It was like call in damn, sorry, my headache today. I'm drawing a blank. It was like draw in a federal investigator or something, and in cases where there were shootings, because I mean that it is a huge problem, and I will never forget because I happened to catch it about 20 minutes in. Was the shooting of the man Philando Castile? I think that was in Missouri, and the one where there was the like 4-year-old in the back seat. And it just, I'll never forget that because I was watching it, in real time. And watching this man die and watching the way they treated the girlfriend, ordering her out of the car, and it was just, you can't possibly look at that and say that would happen to those people if they were white. I mean, there would not be that treatment. And so there's some issues that are going to be touchy, but we can't just ignore them. But other ones, I think, we get into religion and stuff, we're going to argue it until the end of time, and they're not going to come to a solution. So I was glad to hear that Dave, so I guess he's religious, and he personally himself doesn't believe in abortion, although he is a man, which he acknowledged. But he also agrees now that we shouldn't be going backwards in the laws, and just kind of agreed to leave that one alone. The thing that always puzzles me about that issue with Republicans is why do they want? Isn't that kind of like the government in your own business? I mean, shouldn't that be up to everybody? I mean, but you're getting into religion and people's beliefs of when life starts and all that stuff. So you're just never going to come to an agreement. I think we just have to. It's terrible that so many states have gone backwards now. What is it, like Georgia, Missouri?
There are 8 states that have tried to outlaw abortion within 6 weeks of
right.
And most people, 6 weeks, don't even know you're pregnant by then.
Yeah, true.
You'll be pregnant for 6 weeks and not even know it. So that's banning abortion totally if you actually went by that.
And I just can't understand why anybody would want someone who doesn't want a child to have that child. How is that helping anything?
I understand it.
Well, it leads to child abuse. If somebody has a child they don't want, then all of a sudden you have some kid that they're not.
If they keep it. However,
they keep it all the time. I don't see anybody.
They say, I'm going
to keep all the children. They never say I'm going to keep all the children and take care of them. They don't say that. They just want the people to have the children. They don't care what.
No. What I mean is the women don't always keep the children. They give them up for adoption.
Usually,
you have
the number one reason that I'm pretty sure the Catholic Church is against abortion, because basically the Bible says abortion's okay, is how much money the Catholic Church makes from adoption.
Wow.
Yes.
See, not only you get paid multiple times, and another church that wasn't the Catholics. Back in 1955, my aunt got raped by a minister. I had a large family, and they were helping my family out. So they were helping manage the family's money. Mm-hmm. My father was in the military, sending money home to take care of the family. Mm-hmm. The church administered that for them, and they put also aside a bank account for my father to go to college when he got out of the military. Mm-hmm. Well, after the minister raped my cousin, or excuse me, not my cousin, my aunt, she got pregnant, and she was sent to a place for women that seduce ministers.
What? Wait, how old was she when this happened?
Around 20. She was in college.
Oh,
God, kidding.
So they arranged with the church, another one of their branch down in the town with the school, where she would work for the school or work for the church down there, and help, set aside the costs for her scholarship. Was like a work scholarship where she had to clean the church and stuff like that. Yeah. And the people that first of all, they said in order to keep it secret that they had to.
Is that Garden?
No, it's Aeolus.
Oh, Aeolus.
Haven't seen you in a while.
They took all of my father's college money as an apology for her seducing the.
Oh, nice.
It was impossible. It was the minister's fault anyway. It was immediately blamed on her. And
they blamed the girl.
No, they blamed her.
Yeah, they blamed her for.
They blamed her. So so then they got initial chunk of college wasn't that expensive, living expenses, whatever. I mean, it was cheap for them because things were less costly. You didn't get a biggest paycheck in '55 either.
Right.
It was basically his life savings, just gone to the church because they claimed how bad an action this was on the family, and that they were going to say to the entire congregation that it was her fault. And then, so when the baby was born, they did not let her see it. And they immediately took the baby, since eventually the cousin found us. She was in her 40s. We learned how much it cost their family to adopt, which if I tried to find an object that has like relative value to now, you know, if that's the thing, it was the equivalent of buying 2 Oldsmobiles.
Okay.
Which was an expensive car back in the 50s.
Yeah.
And then so that was their cost to adopt, which went to the church, right? Now, because of that, my aunt was ruled that she couldn't, or the doctor said there were complications. After that, she couldn't get pregnant, so she adopted a kid. Again,
money.
And what they do is they don't say they're selling the baby. What they're doing is they say they're making the family prove that it's capable of raising the money to adopt a baby. By taking all the money they just rose, which, you know, the family does everything they can to get the money up, right? So it basically really hampered for life on that. But they really get a lot of money per adoption. And, you know, in today's dollars, they say a blonde baby boy is worth between $250,000 to $500,000 to a church. One baby.
They get that much money?
Just from the adopting family. Just from the adopting family.
Wow, that's a lot of money. They get that much over time, I guess, or something. Yeah.
Yeah, different kids have different value, but they really get a lot of money for one kid. So the Catholic Church and the other churches as well do not want abortions because it is such a big. I mean, if you look at the church's income, there's bequeaths or whatever. They will, if the family is not around, they will do everything they can to get a document signing over and basically having the will changed to have the church inherit everything. And they'll start even taking money when a family would have to pay back what's called Title 19. You go on, the family, any money that the family's received in the last 5 years has to be paid back if you have to put them in a nursing home. So what a church doesn't have to do that. They don't have to pay back. So we have this constant stream of ministers coming up and say, God really needs us to have you give us $500 today.
They would sign what?
They would say, the ministers would walk up to the house, bang on the door. They knew my father had dementia, and it just, Jesus really needs the money today.
Oh God.
And you know, it is just such a big racket. But the hitting.
Hey, it's like the DNC.
Yeah,
Right.
but a baby is just like guaranteed cash. They get the woman when she's in a very vulnerable state, say we're going to take care of it, and that happens more than the child abuse.
Well, and child abuse is pretty bad.
Colleges, the women are constantly bombarded by problem pregnancy. Will help. Just phone numbers, billboards all around college towns. You know, a church in a college town is a gold mine. And I know I had one of my uncles become a minister. You know how poverty stricken. He was a multimillionaire within 2 years.
Hmm.
Hey, Aeolus, what's new? Are you there? Are you on mute? Are you sleeping?
Are you? Yes, are you there, son?
I don't hear snoring.
I don't hear snoring either.
Maybe he's having technical difficulties.
Oh, maybe so. I can't really make out what is on the camera either, though.
Looks like a Roomba.
There's some streaking going across the.
Looks like the back of his monitor or something, maybe, that we're looking at. I can't tell. I don't know.
Well, so.
I know what it is. He can't find his camera.
Oh.
That's probably what it is. He's done that before.
Oh.
He probably just can't find his camera.
Okay.
It's plugged in, obviously.
That's a fluid in a tube.
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
On that, whatever we're looking at, it's like fluid on the backside of a tube.
Hello, hello. It has been many a moon, but
Oh.
we're back.
Okay.
There he is.
Hey.
Here
Hey,
they are.
what's new? We were trying to figure out where you were, if you were.
Yeah. I'm still at the apartment, although this is probably going to be my last month or two up here.
Okay.
Because I am moving back to Stillwater.
Okay.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I've had a bit of a change of opinion on what I wanted to do with my life.
Okay.
I've decided on trying to go back to graduate school to finish up my physics studies. So,
Okay.
obviously, I still have to get past the GRE, and Snort would probably know plenty about how much of a pain in the ass that's going to be.
I don't know. It really wasn't that bad. I bought one of these books. I think I studied for like 4 hours, and there was no problems passing it. It's really not as hard as people say. It's not like GMAT.
Well, maybe I should be a little bit more afraid of physics GRE.
Maybe I got the softball one.
Oh my God, I would never make. No.
I don't remember it. I don't remember it even being specific to your major.
Yeah, well, OSU doesn't require me to do the physics GRE, but there are some other universities that do
Okay.
subject-specific GREs.
How long have you been out?
Huh?
How long have you been out of school?
At this point, a year.
It might not be long enough yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most people in undergraduate take the PGRE anyway if they're wanting to go into graduate school in the physics career path. So for me, it's just going through the physics GRE is just me covering my bases. So if personally, I'm trying to get back into OSU, but if I can find score good on the PGRE and make me competitive, make myself competitive with others to get spots in other schools. Well, that just helps give me some leverage in terms of what kind of scholarships I may or grants I may be able to pull from OSU.
Yeah.
I
know University of Iowa is a good place to go for physics. Iowa State University is a good place for physics. But the campus is dismal.
Yeah.
It's built because we have hot days in the summer.
Yeah.
We have really, really cold days in the winter. The middle of the campus, by the way it was given to the state, has to be left empty. So there's this quarter or half mile that you have to walk across, going between all the buildings are around it, and so you're constantly walking out in an unprotected area with high winds and wind chills of minus 50.
Oh my God, minus 50 degrees?
What fucking city planner thought this was a great idea?
What planet is that on?
Yeah, that's Iowa. Yeah,
That's horrible.
But University of Iowa is this beautiful school that's located, protected by hills. All buildings are all clumped together. the original
This is
state.
it.
And then
Look,
the one I went to was,
it's a university campus. It's not Winterfell.
yes, it is. It's Winterfell. I swear one of the years I went there was one of the coldest years on record, and it was like so many days in a row were below minus 20. You know, 25, 30 mile an hour wind in minus 20 degree weather is brutal. And they didn't cancel classes, you know. So I used to snake or route my trips home through as many buildings as possible to stay warm.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually attended extra classes just to stay warm.
Wow.
My wife had one class when she was taking organic chemistry at PChem. So you all know what PChem is. It's a physical chemistry. And it's a rather tough chemistry. And so I didn't have to take it in my major. I didn't have to take organic or PChem. And but my wife got out of school an hour later than I did. So rather than walk home alone, I'd wait and we'd drive home together. And I would sit in on her class. When I went to grad school, you know, I took one course in industrial toxicology, and I needed organic chemistry. Since I'd sat in on all the chem classes, they said, "Would you like to take it as an oral?" And I go, "Okay." And everybody else was talking about how bad organic chem was, and everybody was like, "What did you get for a grade?" And I'm like, "I didn't take it." How'd you get the class? And they go, "I got the oral." You got an oral?
You lucky son of a bitch.
Well, basically, if I even got close, they were like, "Oh, and you didn't take the class?"
Cool.
So.
The fuck do I need to talk to get that good a deal?
I taught. They had an electronics class, and I wasn't going to take that electronics class. But before I went into grad school, I was constantly grabbing students from them, and they had an electron microscope, and I had a product I was making for a customer that was really picky, and everything had to be 100% inspected on the electron microscope, and the guy that we had to hire to run the microscope was $700 an hour. So to save money, I talked to the school about, you know, would you want to do something with this? In exchange, I taught them a new type of abrasive that wasn't available on the market yet. So after that, they're like, "Well, why don't you come back? You know, you should get your graduate degree." And they kind of made sure that I had mentoring to get back in.
I'm impressed.
Like I say, when you're cold and you got nothing to do, we didn't have handheld cell phones back then to look.
Yeah.
So
Right.
basically, I was bored enough that I was listening to the professors.
Right.
And I had the you know, stick on me that if I wasn't listening to the professors, I would be out in the cold.
Yeah. Wow.
And then I had an excuse to be in the building. Oh, my wife's in this class.
You know, oh man.
So, hey, did I miss something? Are you moving back with that's where your parents live, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am moving back with my parents, at least until I can get into graduate school.
Mm-hmm.
Once I'm in graduate school, then after that point, I'll probably move into another apartment in town.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Well,
at that point, at that point, I should be getting a TA position, as well as the grant for the graduate program. So,
You know, if your parents don't mind,
yeah.
I'd really recommend staying there and building up as much cash as you can.
I probably would, but at the same time, Cole, freedom, man.
I know.
I think my parents want me to give it a second try as well, which honestly I'm okay with. I a part of it also is that I do want to, now that I'm a little bit more decided and I'm not splitting myself between 2 degree paths. I can actually have time that I can specifically focus on my physics studies instead of splitting it with education, which I'm hoping is going to mean I can actually make time to do other things. One of which is actually bothering to have a social, some inkling of a social life instead of just like sheltering myself in books and in front of a laptop 24/7 and actually talk to people.
My oldest.
And if maybe focus on actually trying to build relationships that are a little bit deeper than just friendship. And I kind of want to have that ability to have that kind of opportunity, even if my time because of graduate school is limited. And it's a little bit difficult to do that when I'm still living with my parents. It's sort of like, why do we keep going to hotels? Well, that's a bit of, there's a bit of an explanation behind that, ma'am.
Well, yeah, I suppose it's different. My kids, my oldest son was considering coming out here, but he doesn't want to have to say that he lives in his father's house. And what I told the other kid is just say, your father lives with you.
There you go. I mean, it's saving.
That's actually.
It saves money. Why not?
Erin described her living situation with her father when she was teaching in, I want to say Yukon, a little while back.
So I've given the kids upstairs.
My family can't afford a two-story household. Are you fucking nuts? And Oklahoma, no less. Are you nuts?
This isn't 2 stories. I'm in the basement. I'm a troll.
You're a basement troll, right?
In Soviet Russia, parents put you in.
Yeah.
No,
You put parents in basement.
This room is 15 feet wide. My son's room.
It's your personal man cave.
Yeah, my son's room is 15 feet wide. I could have moved upstairs, and what I would have had was I would have been limited to 15 feet long. Now,
Yeah.
I've got a 50 by 15 foot room. And I just split it into segments. I've got the evil scientist lair here. I've got my my garden, or I am actually now calling it my microphone. Because I have an orchard now.
Oh, nice. So, yeah, so that's kind of where my life has been. I've traded the life of a teacher for the humble life of a grocer, and I'll be honest, I'm pretty happy with it. Sure, pay isn't as great, but the food is so much better. But the provided lunches are so much better.
Right. Compared to what, school cafeteria food?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I work at like an Asian food market, and the owner is Chinese, so like we get fresh, authentic Chinese food.
Nice.
Very nice.
That's best. It's the best. If only I could eat more of it. And I don't mean like as in an all-you-can-eat buffet. No, like I mean literally. I wish my taste palette was developed enough to actually eat everything they were providing.
What kind of stuff is like too much?
I don't know. It's sort of the home food. It's not the stuff that you'd see at the rush. A lot of the stuff that you'd see at the restaurants. Well, mapo tofu you would see, but some of the other stuff that they cook, it's not stuff that you'd see at like a Chinese restaurant.
Right.
It's not stuff like General Tso's chicken or stuff.
Yeah.
Something.
Right.
Stuff like Anthony Bourdain would eat.
It's not Anthony Bourdain cooking.
Yeah. Meat, unidentified meat on a stick. Stuff that he would.
What is your chicken like?
It has feathers in it.
I've had Lao chicken.
Actually,
some Chinese chicken is like Lao chicken, where they won't eat it if it hasn't been left out for 2 weeks.
Ooh.
What?
Raw. It'd be spoiled. It would be terrible.
Yeah, it's soft. You don't need to chew it. Basically, it's like melts in your mouth.
That makes sense.
Does that sound like
Okay.
something that you've seen somewhere?
That's
not
I
always.
haven't seen it at the restaurant or at the place I work, but it wouldn't surprise me.
We got that, and I was, we're at the Asian market, and we got this, and I saw on the conveyor belt this old chicken, and I thought it was the people in front of us. And I was like, oh, I'm glad we're not having that. And, oh no, we're having that. I'm not easy with I'm real queasy with new foods.
My life situation aside, I'm ready to talk politics because boy, it has been an interesting month since the last time I was able to chat with you guys.
Well, what is going on? I mean, you must actually talk to some young people.
No. I do talk to young people. Before the semester ended, I was talking with one of my students about what was happening with the Mueller report, and we just thought, boy, what a shit show that ended up being. Our favorite bit from it was this debate that happened on CNN, where apparently they got two Democratic and Republican strategists to sit next to each other, and both of them were gritting their teeth as if they were both trying to sharpen knives. So as soon as commercial break, they can't take and shake each other. And they were my student Emma. She was like, "Jesus Christ, you two, dude, just like calm down. It's a fucking legal report. It's not. It's not the first shot fired at Bunker Hill. Like, what the fuck?"
Yeah. All of that. We still haven't investigated uranium one.
Right.
You know what? Honestly, at this point, I've kind of surrendered to the reality that no matter who wins the presidential election next year, our national discourse is going to be dominated by conspiracy theorists. So.
Yeah. Now, are the kids
which,
all for...
I do state with a little bit of self-conscious irony, considering that's what most people think we are.
Are the kids all for Buttigieg, or are they all for Beto?
Actually, neither. Honestly, nobody is really excited for the presidential elections this year. Has been my general view.
Well, what about Bernie? And
Bernie still has some popularity.
What about Andrew Yang? Have you heard anything about him?
I have heard about Andrew Yang. In fact, Snork has probably been his loudest proponent amongst us. He's been.
I was for Yang when he was the most progressive.
Yeah.
And right now, I think that it's a toss-up between Bernie and Tulsi, which one's the most progressive.
Yeah.
And I went to a Bernie thing today, and
did you go to that? I was seeing that on online.
Yeah, I'm personally, my personal money is, well, the person I'm putting my money for is Tulsi, but that's only in the sense that I think that of all the people on the field, she is the most eminently qualified. She's the most eminently qualified and the most eminently capable of handling the pressures of the presidency. That's not to say that I wouldn't accept Bernie. Not at all. I'm just, it's just of the people on there. I think that she's the most comprehensive package now, and that's granted with a consideration for some of her faults, faults and prior missteps. But overall, I think that she, as a package, she's the best one on the field.
Yeah, but to go see Tulsi today, I would have had to pay $50 to Biden.
Oof.
Pay $50 to Biden?
Well, basically, there was 19 candidates there. And you pay $50. Maybe it's tomorrow. You pay $50,
no,
and then they decide who gets the $50.
Honestly, I'm inclined to believe Nico and Nico House on this, and they're not actually really all that hung up for Biden. They're what they're really aiming for is probably Warren.
Warren, huh?
Warren, most likely. Yeah, Biden would be their ideal, but the problem is that Biden is Biden.
Right.
Biden is Biden, and
Biden is Hillary. Biden is Hillary. That's all there is to it. That's who he is. He is Hillary. He is the Orthodox Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Hillary could still run.
Hillary can still win.
I hope she does. If she doesn't run, how would I be able to catch her?
Yeah. You know what?
Who?
But the problem is that Biden is Biden, and he suffers from two things. One is the fact that he can't really seem to keep his mouth shut when he needs to. Second is that he can't keep his hands where he needs to keep them.
Well, also his history is starting to catch up with him.
Yep.
We're the Iraq War.
And there's a lot of fucking bullshit.
We're the crime bill. For NAFTA. I mean, he's made a number of horrendous political decisions in his life, and it's all coming back to haunt him.
Yep. Let's just say the woke people are feeling extra woke this year. They are not going to accept Biden. Not if it comes between him and Bernie, those people are going to stay home.
Now the great thing is this year.
Yeah, well, like they did in 16, actually, yeah.
What's that?
That's what they did in 16. People stayed home. That's the reason.
Right.
The one reason Trump won is because so many people did not go to vote. Because Hillary was on there and nobody was really that crazy about her.
Well, this time, the good news is the convention is right in my backyard.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing.
The convention's going to be in Long Beach. That's just...
Oh, God, really?
Yeah, that's just 40 minutes from me.
In 2000, I went to Long Beach for a convention for the Reform Party. It was there.
I'm going to show up with a Tim Canova T-shirt, and I'm going to crash it.
Well, what T-shirt?
Tim Canova.
Who?
Tim Canova.
Tim Canova. Oh, okay.
The guy who ran against Wasp.
I'm going to show up with a Tim Canova T-shirt, and I'm going to crash it.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, but he's not running for president, though.
No. This is specifically to piss off these.
Yeah, it's yeah, exactly.
Well, that would be a good thing to do.
Yes. Yes. Also,
Now I'm going to let everybody here know.
Now, the reason why
Hold on. If you hear after the convention that somebody wearing a Tim Conover T-shirt got arrested for either punching Hillary or getting DWS in a headlock, it most likely was me.
You know, I don't think Tim would mind that you wore that while you were doing that. I don't think he would.
No, I don't think Tim would have a problem with
He'd
it.
probably thank you.
I wouldn't punch them. I wouldn't punch them. Just have a beverage with you and accidentally spill it on them, and then have the beverage be yours.
No. My response to them is, have you accepted our Lord and Savior Prager University?
Now,
That is so fucking awful. Don't take that seriously, people. Please, for the love of God, don't take what I just said seriously.
But does PragerU claim to be in Oklahoma?
You know what? If you can tell me the difference between Mr. Prager and Senator Inhofe, you will earn my gold star.
That is a good point there, Eolas. That is a very good point. I don't think I'd be able to tell the difference.
Okay, although to be fair to Senator Inhofe, in a striking moment of principle, and I know that's a very loose statement when talking about Senator Inhofe, he actually opposes Space Force. So.
Okay.
Well, I'm for Space Force.
Look, we are not giving you your orbital space marines. That's not happening. We are not going to start playing Warhammer 40K with the fucking Earth.
I agree with Warren.
The amount of money we would have to invest in developing orbital drop shock troopers would be so astronomically ludicrous.
Hold on, though. Knowing Snork, he would probably want us to start building our own Death Star.
You know, the Death Star was awfully inefficient. There was no need for humans on that.
It's a failsafe. Honestly, though, if you built a giant technological war machine the size of a planet that you could literally obliterate other planets in one go, wouldn't you want to have this personal self-satisfaction of being able to shoot the damn thing yourself, both from the control room, just like fire away.
It really didn't help it because every time they fired it, they blew it up, right?
No. Okay, look, there was one time that was like a serious fucking fluke. The second time, it's still in the midst of fucking construction. Sure, it was kind of a dumb idea to put that on the battlefield in the first place, but, you know.
The second one was a fully operational.
That it was active, it actually was paying off until it didn't.
Yeah, it was a fully operational Death Star.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Yeah, it was fully operational, but it was still under construction.
No, I think we need a
like
space.
Literally. So
it's just missing some aluminum siding. That's all.
Well, not only that, they were actually going to micro sink the heat sinks, so they couldn't do the torpedo maneuver, the X-wing torpedo maneuver a second time.
Right.
So they finally figured out, instead of just having like really big thermal exhaust ports that are the size of a person, why don't we just stick a bunch of smaller holes everywhere? It would vent the same amount of heat, and people can't shove proton torpedoes down it.
Yeah. But
Problem solved.
What I mean by Space
You
Force,
forgot to close the fucking entrances to the reactor core, you dumbass.
yeah. What I think the Space Force needs to do is several things. We need to start cleaning up space. They polluted it way too bad.
Yeah.
And then we need to start having a readiness for asteroids. And I don't think that's an unreasonable, you know, we have a few $13, $15 trillion a year here or there. I don't think that's too much to spend.
We can't get the consensus to clean up the oceans. How are we going to clean up space?
Because
Because
using materials from
Russia.
space.
That's why.
No, using materials from space, we can clean up the oceans better. There are materials we could mine from space if only we had some billionaire preparing metal factories or metal refineries in the orbit of Mars.
Don't give Elon Musk
In
ideas.
the Mars.
Don't give Elon Musk more ideas to make future billions and upon trillions of future dollars. He's already, the guy's already half near bankrupting himself on SpaceX and Tesla simultaneously, mind you.
Yeah.
While also threatening to call other people pedophiles for not using his mining equipment.
Yeah, but I think that we need a force as big as all of our armed services together to address climate change.
Oh yes.
And Lockheed Martin has this wonderful aircraft. Let me see if I can find it. That theoretically the program has been shut down, but it's the perfect disaster response vehicle. It's the silliest looking vehicle you can imagine, but it's a super heavy lift transport vehicle.
So, getting back to the what I was saying earlier, I'm kind of in the shared opinion with Nico House on Elizabeth Warren probably being who the establishment is really going to start dumping their investment into. Because Warren is somebody that they have strings on. Warren is somebody who they know they can rely on to toe the party line. Warren is somebody who is not going to oppose the military intervention strategies of the party or of the two major parties. Neither is she going to be somebody to throw the oligarchy completely under the bus. Rein them in, possibly. Cause a lot of people to grumble in frustration, sure. Humiliate a bunch of bankers in front of a national audience, absolutely. But is she going to stir the apple cart more than Bernie Sanders? Absolutely fucking not.
Yeah.
Much less that she's not going to stir it up as much as Bernie Sanders. Much less what Tulsi Gabbard is apparently poised to do.
Okay, somebody help me out here. I remember there was something where, Elizabeth Warren, it was some hearing that she was in. I forget what it was. But it was basically like, I remember a lot of the independent media critiquing it. Like, okay, great, that you're basically just getting, you're saying a bunch of stuff, but you basically, she didn't back Bernie. She was silent, and then she backed Hillary, right? So when she got up at this hearing, I think maybe it was a consumer protection thing. I forget exactly. I have to dig it up. But it was like, she got a lot of heat from independent media. Like, okay, now you talk. Like, it's a bunch of hot air. Like, Rich is looking at me like.
She's what established the consumer protection.
Yeah, I know, and I've liked Elizabeth Warren, but to me, her silence during 2016, her refusal to back Bernie, and then to just
Bernie backed Hillary also, as I recall.
Well, in the end, yes.
In the end.
Right, in the end, which is bad.
Elizabeth Warren too. But here's the thing: like, this is a repeated pattern with Elizabeth Warren. It's just that she always waits until the dust is settled before she says something, which
yes,
which sometimes is probably the smarter course of option. On the other hand, she does this so repeatedly that it shows that she's completely risk adverse.
Yeah, I'm just at a point where it's. I used to have a lot of respect for her, but I'm just at a point with these politicians where if they don't have the guts to stand up for something, now when are they going to do it? And they're going to do stuff that's politically expedient in the moment. I'm sorry, the picture I now have of Elizabeth Warren is her on stage with Hillary in a matching blue suit with their arms up, like this. And it's like, no.
To be honest, here's what I think of Elizabeth Warren. I think she's a single issue. I think, we often talk about Bernie and Tulsi as having like specific zones of expertise, right? Like for Tulsi, it's foreign policy, not only because of her personal experience with the foreign policy of America, but also because of clear evidentiary research and philosophy that she's developed towards how America positions itself in the world. Whereas Bernie focuses much more specifically on domestic policy and is able to give very concrete and justified reasons for putting certain policies into place where they need to be in a way that is easy to understand for even the most uneducated Americans to be able to synthesize in simple layman's terms. And I think, but with Elizabeth Warren, she is a single issue. She is an expert in economics. I'm not going to ever take that away from her. And I do think her interest in it is earnest. The problem is that that's the only thing she knows about, and it's the only thing she cares to know about. Anything else, she is willing to push aside. Whether if it's foreign policy, fuck it, do whatever. You guys can do whatever the fuck you guys want on that. If you want to expand the military budget by $20 billion, have it. Yeah. Do whatever you want with it. What?
What are you doing, Mitch?
You want to put Ben Carson as your housing secretary? Go on ahead. But if you start fucking with other people's finances, I'm going to come for your ass.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's Elizabeth Warren.
Well, that's not presidential then. I mean,
to be fair to her, she does have a spot where she excels in.
Sure.
The problem is that that's the only spot
Very good point.
She has any strength in. And the fact that she's so singularly minded, she's on what she wants to do. I honestly don't think that she can come up with a sufficient comprehensive solution, especially when going into 2020, we're probably not going to have the Senate.
Yeah.
Well, little slightly off topic from that, but I could hear you guys talking when I was in the kitchen. And I wanted to mention something. Well, Brian and I have talked about doing this, and I mentioned it with Dave, the guy that has this channel, Aeolus. I don't know if you heard. It's called Save America, Vote Tulsi Gabbard. And Dave is an independent, former Republican. It's a great channel, though. I think he's got a lot of crossover appeal. Anyway, I mentioned it to him, and he thought it was a fantastic idea. But I thought of a title. Because remember when we were talking about the comedian stuff last weekend, and I played the David Letterman segment, Trump or Monkey? I think we need to title it Trump or Neoliberal. And when we go in, our idea, what Brian and I talked about doing, was say, take issue by issue. Let's cut this bullshit with the mainstream media painting out, going after the personalities, whether it's Trump or anyone else, and let's look item by item. What is the real difference between what Trump is doing when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to domestic, everything? And let's look and see what is the real difference. And he thought that was really cool. And I think that's something we definitely need to start doing.
Honestly, I would have just called it Trump or liberal.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's one way to do it.
Actually, it's funny you guys mentioned the media because I've been back home a couple of times the past couple of months.
Your parents watch.
Yeah. I talked with my dad about the news lately, and he told, and this is seriously what he told me. I really don't like watching the news much anymore. I asked him, "Oh, why? Oh, why's that?" And he says, "There's no investigative reporting going on anymore. It's
No.
Yeah, there hasn't been for years.
Wow, where has he been?
Well, you have to understand where that isn't the like.
Your dad's not
Dem-
alone. It's a
He's
lot of
not a
people.
Democrat by any means, but he's he's an independent liberal. He's still in the thought bubble
Yeah.
Okay.
of the liberal intelligentsia, as is my mom to an extent. And so, that's where that's if you're in the liberal intelligentsia bubble, that's where you get your information from, classically.
Yep.
But my dad's actually been frustrated with because it's now become abundantly clear that there's no investigative interest at all with any of these networks. Dad admitted the only reason that I even bother to watch MSNBC at all anymore is literally just for the Trump segments. That's literally it. Other than that, there's no value in anything that they're doing anymore. And I thought about that, like it's not the ideal spot, but I can kind of but it's a step in the right direction, I thought.
Right. That's what I also said that last weekend when we were talking about the comedy shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Just like at some point, I mean, when you talk about people that are viewing that, we're not talking about the Fox News viewers. We're talking about largely, educated people that at some point they have to actually look and see, I'm not seeing any evidence of this stuff they're telling me. Like, they're telling me what I want to hear. This is my camp. This is where I sit. But at some point they have to realize that there's just no evidence. There's no investigative journalism going on.
Yeah. And so, I kind of wanted to joke, well, there used to be investigative reporters, but then they all got labeled conspiracy theorists and ran out.
Right. Well, they went. Ed Schultz went to RT. Rest in peace, Ed Schultz.
Basically, if you were an investigative reporter, you basically had one of two options: either go independent, where you're likely to get quashed, quashed by advertising polls,
right?
Or you join a foreign network.
Yep.
That is run by some foreign state.
Well, do you remember when Ed Schultz
or Telesur?
Ed Schultz came out and said, I think a month before he died, he said that he came out and told what had happened, that he was told not to cover Bernie Sanders, and they were shutting down his message. They didn't like him talking about, the working class issues, and they didn't want his voice on MSNBC.
And my mom was kind of dismissive to that reason at the time. But that's honestly what ended up happening. Is just that the investigative voices basically got driven out.
Yeah.
The people who were left were people like fucking Martin Bashir. People who had no investigative credentials whatsoever, and who up to that point have basically been who had spent most of their lives doing shock documentaries and pulling tabloid pieces. I mean, Bashir, I would argue is the most infamous because of his handling of the whole Michael Jackson documentary that ended up spawning the 2003 allegations several months afterward. and arguably one of the largest contributions to why he ended up essentially committing suicide by propofol several years later.
Who
Uh,
committed suicide?
We're talking about Michael
well,
Jackson's death, but who is the or the talking
Mark
head?
Bashir. Mark Bashir.
Right.
Yeah.
And he not only did he have and the guy literally was accusing him of somebody being a pedophile, got it wrong, and he ended up getting a fucking talking show on MSNBC.
Right. It's awful.
I'm not even going to comment on.
Well, I mean, that's not the. I remember a similar interview. It makes me think of what's his name? Cuomo. Chris Cuomo.
Chris Cuomo.
He did an interview. Do you remember the whole Amanda Knox story?
Mm-hmm.
Which I personally think she's innocent. But I don't know. But the interview that he did with her was just atrocious. I mean, the questions he asked her, it might as well have been on National Enquirer. It was horrible. It was smutty. He was like asking her for like details of her escapades with the boyfriend and whatnot. And it was like watching, I don't know, it was just awful. It was terrible.
Remember,
Who was Amanda Knox?
Amanda Knox was the American girl from Seattle that was studying in Italy, and her roommate was like brutally murdered.
Right, I remember that.
But they had already pinned it on a guy that was from like the Ivory Coast or something. I forget his name. And I mean, they had like fingerprints and everything. But the Italian courts, there was a big, I don't know, conspiracy, I guess, about it because of the particular judge that was trying the case, and that he was notorious for fabricating stories and stuff. And so the Italian media really painted her out, Amanda Knox, out to be this just slutty, I don't know, they turned it into a soap opera, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what the media is designed to do. It's why people get sucked into this. It's
right.
Like this is why I despise tabloid journalism.
Yeah.
It's not just because there is a reason why. It's not just because it creates a nightmare for those in the entertainment industry to just maintain some basic level of privacy, which any one of us should be entitled to have,
sure,
regardless of level of fame or fortune. I really, honestly, I said this when I was 16, and I'll say it again. If suppose, for example, Angelina Jolie wanted to announce to the world, hey, I am expecting a child in X months. I hope that you will, take the time to, or celebrate the occasion. That's okay. You do you. But if you don't want your kid being exposed to that kind of exposure, there's no fucking reason why you should be barging into somebody's life to do that.
Like Michael Jackson covered his kids' faces and everything, yeah. But
yeah, because that's the insanity of the industry.
Right.
And the worst part of it is that it's not in any way driven by any sort of factual basis in reality.
No.
It is completely driven by this desire to create this mystique, this cult of personality, that out of thin fucking cloth.
Yeah.
And to paint a very simple story narrative about somebody's meteoric rise to fame and then sudden downfall. And people were begging for that, for the downfall of multiple celebrities in the most calamitous way possible because of the shock value, because it would sell papers. And when 2005 dropped, Tom Mesereau discussed this in several of his interviews after Jackson's second allegation trial, and that he was approached by Barry Gordy, the man who all practical respects, discovered Michael Jackson and his brothers, or at the very beginning of their career.
Mm-hmm.
And he told Tom Ezra, "You just costed the tabloid industry upwards of $1 billion just by getting him innocent."
We have to consider too,
Like,
why
just
does it
think about
sell? Because people
think
want this shit, which is really sad, But I'm sorry, Brian. I think I
No,
interrupted.
you know what? The fact of the matter is, and I saw somebody on Facebook talking like, "Oh, we shouldn't blame the messenger. We should blame the people for." It's just
Well,
like,
no,
motherfucker. Do you understand how propaganda fucking works? It doesn't matter how fucking smart you are.
Well, yeah, but if
it's not a matter of how fucking smart you are. It's a matter of how much are you willing to. It's a matter of, is it believable to you or is it not? That's the key to propaganda.
True.
It doesn't matter how smart you are or how well read you think you are. The way propaganda works is not based on your ability to read critically. It is based on your ability to accept a certain form of heuristic understanding of the world.
Good point.
And running and encouraging you to run off of that heuristic. That is where propaganda works its finest.
Right.
And if you think that anyone, if you think you yourself are immune, can act like you yourself are immune to this, you're a fucking idiot.
No, you have to really watch it. Because we all have that confirmation bias. We want to hear.
Absolutely. That's why I enjoy talking with you guys, because it does. Even if we are very similar minds, it does provide something, some limited hope of having a countervailing voice.
Mm-hmm. So, Brian, were you going to say
you've
something
seen me
about
when I just loaded up?
Yeah.
About the Amanda Knox or
back to Chris Cuomo.
Cuomo.
Remember, he was the guy who said during when the WikiLeaks releases were coming out about the DNC that it was illegal. He said this. It was illegal for us as the audience to look at these.
He actually said that.
But it was okay because for them to do it because they were journalists.
Yeah, remember, I forget his exact words. It was something
Fuck
like,
off.
Yeah, exactly. Jackass.
But it was remember, we're allowed to look at these and but I don't know if he used the word illegal. I think he did actually, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
He did say. I'm going to see if I can find it.
What he actually said is it was against the law. That's what he said. He said it was against the law for us to look at these releases.
And so how many people would believe that? Because, you hear this stuff like this, when, being kind of in the know, you hear this and go, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. Will they really get away with this? But what you realize is, and people will buy it. People will actually believe it.
But you know what? I don't blame the people for believing it. I blame the people.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, don't blame the manipulator. Blame the people doing the manipulation. It's sort of
that's true, but we have to look at another thing we've talked about doing and didn't follow through on, but was going over logical fallacies. And let's look at our education system. Why do we have a population that is so much more easily susceptible to this propaganda?
Yes.
I think that is definitely the case, where maybe before it might have been, I don't know, in the Walter Cronkite days when we had real news media. And hey, look, I could find a book in 5 minutes of my grandmother's 3rd grade vocabulary book. And I would be surprised if a lot of high schoolers knew these words. Our education system is failing. It's terrible.
It's really bad.
And so you've got a population that I think is just more susceptible to believing these things, because we're not teaching the critical thinking skills and all kinds of other stuff. So, right? What do you guys think about that?
Could I make a comment about something?
Absolutely. Jump in.
We have this thing about the media, mass media.
Mm-hmm.
We have Bernie Sanders. One of his messages talking about billionaires in Wall Street, and the thing that the news media, their job all these sensational programs about a woman in Italy and people and talking about sports, talking about entertainment and info news or what was like entertainment news. Entertainment is not news. It's something to keep people busy, to not think about politics,
Right.
to not think about their own personal lives and what they need in their lives. The whole thing is a
Distraction.
It's a distraction. It's distraction to keep people from using their minds to think about their own lives and what they can do politically to correct what is happening or what exists.
Yeah, it's a pacifier. That's what we're doing.
It's sports. I'm a big tennis fan. I spent last 2 or 3 days watching the French Open because I'm nut about eating that stuff up. I'm guilty.
Well, we all have to have some escape. We can't, always.
But I mean, sports and especially get into crime. I know a woman that spends 15 hours a day watching all these crime shows about, what, who's killed who and all this kind of thing. It's all she does in her life, just about, watch crime shows, because it's interesting. It stimulates her. It grabs her. This story about a woman in Italy grabs her. All these things grab the public attention. And some incident that happened, they'll have it on CNN and all the other news channels for like 2 or 3 weeks. And they've already said the same thing over and over and over again for 3 weeks. And all of a sudden, every minute people spend listening to that story, they're not paying attention to what's happening in their own lives or in their own localities, in their own communities, or thinking about what they could do to change what exists, to maybe get some local banking, to have Main Street become alive and active again, to actually have a thriving Main Street instead of having Wall Street own and control everything. Small business is what people should be thinking about. How do we get a community, or how do we get a financial system that supports small business and people actually having wealth moving down and not all? We need to have that to make this country better. We need to support Main Street.
Well, there is. I know what you're saying, Eolas. We shouldn't blame the consumer of the media, but smut sells. Let's face it.
Blame media for the content. There is no, like I always said, there's no investigative reporting anymore. They're not talking about what really matters, what is news, what really counts. They're talking about a bunch of fabricated stories or things that'll titillate people and make them talk about this and this and this endlessly, so that they don't talk about anything that's important.
And that's the other thing. So we don't have our education systems failing, and I think that people are learning more from the mass media, the junk. Just turn on, like last I checked, the so-called learning channel. It's terrible. There's not learning anything from that channel. It's like there's
the less said about the History Channel, the better.
Well, here we have a good example. We have somebody who just left being a teacher. Would he have left being a teacher? He could have afforded to have an okay house. If he could have afforded to have a social life. A teacher in other countries, he would have a Tesla right now.
Oh, really?
No, in other countries, teachers drive a decent car.
Yeah. Hey, quite a bit better.
I'm talking like Norway, Sweden, Finland. Their teachers are treated well. There are systems there to keep them teaching. And the issues with journalists, of course, we have to have an outlet for them to be able to get paid for in it. But we need to be educating people for jobs right now. We need nurses. We need physician's assistants. We need nurse practitioners. We need all kinds of medical, paramedical people just to get involved to get it. We could put a lot of people together just saying, okay, if you're going to complain that people aren't being seen by medical associates, let's get them going to school right now. Let's get that excuse off the table. In fact, I'll bring that up tomorrow.
Well, I think PAs are some of the best. I mean, the physician's assistants that I've seen are as knowledgeable as doctors, and I don't know what particular programs. I know Duke, one of
Yeah,
them that
what
I
I've
saw
seen with
went through
PAs,
Duke, but
what I've
seems
seen
like
with
good
PAs is
training.
that PAs don't have the arrogance of a doctor, and they're constantly checking on themselves. A
Huh.
PA caught my wife's cancer. The doctors, the experts, did not.
Mm-hmm.
Even a neurologist doctor did not catch my wife's cancer. And the
Wow.
tumor was the size, was larger than a golf ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I thought a nurse practitioner, same thing, right?
No,
Well, no, they're different grades.
I have not had the same good experience with nurse practitioners as I have PA. Now I was in in and out of medical stuff for a while because of my spinal fluid leak, so a lot of
Nurse
experience.
practitioners good. The ones I've had, nurse practitioners have been good. I think they're good to have them in the medical system.
Mm-hmm.
Is that on the right?
Well, what we need is we need to be thinking them as grades.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't
A
always
PA
need to see
is
the
above
doctor.
that, right?
Yeah, the PA is above the nurse practitioner.
Right.
Okay.
A nurse practitioner is a nurse that can go out and kind of give you a look over first. The PA is trained a little bit more, and the PA goes back immediately to the doctor and goes, "This is what's going on."
I think
Whereas
they're the
nurse can
best.
the nurse can say, "That's a cut. You're going to need to go get stitches."
Mm-hmm.
Or the nurse practitioner is going to know, "Oh, that's a rash. I'm going to send you over for a doctor for the rash."
Uh-huh.
Where the the PA is actually doing preliminary diagnosis. Like in my wife's case, her clue was you have abnormal levels of potassium, and at that point, arrogance was not there. She goes, "I'm going to refer you to somebody else that might know better."
Right.
She sent her to a kidney specialist because kidneys are usually what's related to. The kidney doctor got paid really well, did 3 biopsies without finding anything. And the other thing that high potassium levels are, if it's not kidneys, it's brain cancer. After the first biopsy failed, she should have been sent to a neurologist. I mean, or a neuro-oncologist. And but the hospital and that kidney specialist made a lot of money treating her for kidney failure for a year instead of brain cancer.
Jeez.
So again, like I said, the doctors did not catch her cancer. The PA did.
Yeah.
To me, it's the PA. Too many of the
I
doctors.
think they're the best. I mean, and this is just me anecdotally. I don't want to knock on nurse practitioners, but I find there's this kind of arrogance. Like we talk about the arrogance with doctors, and I feel that's the same way with the nurse practitioner. But the PA, like you said, they're just not. They're always checking themselves, and they're really trying to diagnose, and it's not. Yeah, I think they're the best, honestly.
Yeah, and I think that checking gives them the balance that they need to get this wonderful health care. So I think we need to be training everything, and I think it's a horrible waste that we're letting ALS go. That we're having.
Honestly,
I mean, if we gave you an $80,000 car, would you come back to being a teacher? If this was Finland, we'd give you an Audi Quattro and a nice apartment.
Yeah, well, entry level pay for teachers. Where I have friends that they've been teaching for 20 years or 30 years, they're making $50,000-$60,000 a year, which isn't too bad,
No, but at that level as a teacher,
level people are not making that kind of money at all.
A teacher to get $50,000 or $60,000, that's a teacher with a master's degree.
Right. Yeah, true.
All right, hey guys, I can
have to admit that 50,000, that promise of a car statement you mentioned. It did lead on a complete side tangent. This did remind me of a quote from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and that is, "What you owe me cannot be repaid with cars or money.
Hmm.
They took your soul.
Just imagine like me having that moment where somebody says, they're like, "Would you, if I gave you a Tesla, would you come back to the teaching profession?" But you owe me, asshole. And I'll be repaid back with money.
But to me, right now, we should be having a program. Every teacher. Finland will put 2 or 3 teachers.
That's
really dorky.
No, that was great. Enthusiasm.
I'll show that clip. I'll link the clip here.
Finland will put 2 or 3 teachers to a class, so that there's a teacher in charge of the class and there's assistant teachers, and I think we need the same thing here.
Yeah,
like a lot of school buses now have a driver, so the driver isn't doing discipline. There's a monitor at the back of the bus doing discipline.
Yeah, really. That's just dangerous.
Yeah. So the teacher needs to be teaching class, and the armed guards at the back need to be doing the discipline.
The armed guards.
No, they don't. I do not need the fucking school resource officer doing that.
But you do need a couple of other teachers in there. And I can remember back as a young engineer how we had the tiers. The young engineer was checking the work of the person above them, was how they learned. And then when you got to do something, you had somebody checking your math for you. So go over, and then you check it with your boss. So you had 3 generations of engineers teaching each other. And I think we need to do that with teachers. I think that every classroom should have 3 teachers. And we have so many teachers that have left the fields to get a job where they could make an earning. Oh, hi.
Hey.
I think
Hey, it's been a long time since we've seen you.
We have a lot to catch up on from what we've been talking about.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's nice to see you. Well, I guess I could leave it going a while. I'm sorry, I was actually just about to say I've been sitting up long enough. Can you hear me, Chad?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Because I had I had a headache today, so I wanted to do this anyway, but I was just about to sign off. But I could leave it up if you guys want to talk. I'm gonna go lie down. So.
All right.
But we're gonna try to get back on doing this more regularly on Saturday at 10:30. So it's great to see you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, you too.
What do you guys think? Do you guys want? I mean, I'm happy to leave it up if you want to keep talking. I'll just close.
Sure.
Stop my video and go lie down a while.
Yeah, you need to get some rest. You've got some heavy weather coming.
Oh boy. All right. Well, maybe I should end. But Chad, will you come back next weekend?
Absolutely. I got your notification. So.
Oh, okay. Cool.
All right.
Sounds
How
good.
Do I share videos?
Okay. Sorry, we're not signing off because you showed up. I just wanted you to know that.
I got you.
Okay.
It's not the first time. Why is it saying that?
Yeah, I know there was some drama. I try to forget all that. We try to rise above that. I don't even know what all happened. That's okay. Anyway, well, yeah, I'm going to sign off, but it's great to see you all. Nice to see you for a second, and we'll do it again next weekend. I think we are going to be talking about the forensicator stuff that came out. John Papa's going to come back. We're going to go over that and maybe some of the stuff about VR systems in Florida and the whole hacking story. And anybody following that?
Yeah, Kelly. One thing I wondered, could you? I don't know what it.
What happened? Hold on. This is pause share. This is not right.
It's okay. I don't know what happened.
How do I stop share? There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, Kelly, I was just wondering, when we have one next week, could we have the things you're mentioning now that we would be discussing and talking about?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Out maybe a couple of days before we're going to do it, and maybe have what the topics
are. Yeah. Okay, so
sort of an agenda, so to speak,
Yeah, right. That's a great idea. So we did that. We started doing that because it helps us stay on topic a little better, and then we meander. So
we were pretty wide ranging
tonight. What's one meandering topic to another?
Yeah, it'll happen anyway. But if we have 3 topics, then and I do want to go over this stuff from if anybody follows it's on Twitter, it's The guy, it's he goes by Adam Carter, though that's not his real name, but it's at With Integrity, I believe. If anybody's interested.
Integrity?
Yeah, at with_integrity. And he usually will post a lot of stuff about the Forensicator blog. Now that, if anybody doesn't know what that is, that's the analysis of the DNC leak versus hack stuff. Very technical, not something I understand very well, but I like to talk about it and get other people who know IT stuff to weigh in. And one of our regular people, John Papa, he is very interested in this, so we'll get into that next weekend. And I also want to talk about VR systems. Now that is the elections, what do I want to call it? Elections company that also does the poll books. Hang on a second. If you go on Twitter, it's at VR election. But the story with this, if you just Google VR systems and Florida, you'll find out there's a lot of information about that's where the spear phishing emails from Russian hackers tried to get into VR systems. So it's very interesting, and I think it's the key to maybe the whole Russiagate story. I don't know, but it was talked about in the Reality Winner thing that was leaked to The Intercept. And so it's very interesting what's going on with that now. So those are kind of the two things I want to get into. But if anybody has another topic or whatever, we'll do that too. So,
all right.
What do you want to talk about? We'll make a list.
No. I think we're pretty all set to wrap up.
Okay.
I just wanted to post share one last thing before we get here. This is one to as a follow up for context for the statement I have made just before we started wrapping things up.
Are you going to show the clip?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. And then
second reason I'm showing it is that this is probably what our response is going to be to the DNC should Bernie or Tulsi end up winning the nomination.
Okay.
許しはてめえが殺したエンヤバーに来いな。俺たちは初めっからてめえを許す気はないんだ。ディオから前金をもらっている。それを祈るよ。やれやれ。てめえ正真正銘の史上最低な男だぜ。てめえのつけば金では払えねえぜ。つけの領収書だぜ。
Keep the change, motherfucker! Well, hopefully
That's what happens if.
Hopefully, when we finally kick the DNC's ass, that we'll get something that is loosely approximate to that moment.
That would be beautiful. Okay, Chad, why don't you have the last?
I did not understand that moment. I didn't.
Okay, yeah, you have to see the series to get it. But basically, Jodoro up to that point had been basically that asshole who he just beat up had basically been stamping him all over by threatening the life of his grandfather if he tried to beat the crap out of him. And when he finally folded, that asshole finally folded, he was like, "Oh, please forgive me. Don't beat me." You already rescinded that right when you killed me. Because I don't have any intention of forgiving you at this point. What if I paid you with money? Listen here, asshole. What you owe me will never be paid back with money.
Which
Which,
that's
after all the humiliation we've suffered
Yeah, really.
to the DNC and all their allies over the past 4 years,
Yeah.
I thought this clip was just a perfect encapsulation of all the shit we've gone through and what we're going to feel like once we finally get Bernie and Tulsi over the finish line.
There you go. All right. Hey, Chad, you want to have the last word since you just barely got on here? What's new?
I thought, well, just same old, just working and grinding at all the 1,000 things I'm trying to accomplish. Still, I'm right now. I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to run, maybe seek the Green Party nomination for president.
Ooh.
I'm actually thinking about I'm seriously running. So, I can't deal with the whole, even Howie Hawkins is Russiagate and he has some blind spots. So I'm just in my own head, trying to make decisions. But what that video he played, I just thought I thought the line that got me was that you can't pay what you owe with money. I thought that was a cool line. And I mean, that's I don't know, that's what I got from that.
Yeah, I think we're having a real awakening. I don't know if it's enough, but a real awakening in this country of money is just not everything. I mean, to some people it is, but to a lot of us it isn't.
Right.
And there's stuff that's so much more important. So we'll end on that like upbeat note.
And Ted, I'm a Green Party activist. I was on Central Committee at the Green Party of Ohio for like 2002 to 2014 when I moved down to Louisville.
Oh yeah,
cool.
Chad, this is Rich Stevenson. Rich Stevenson, I'll send you some information about like his book and his website and stuff like that, stuff he's worked on. He's run as a Green and as an independent, and he started this independent voter revolution basically, right?
Yeah, the voter revolution is something we need to do, and it doesn't necessarily have to involve political parties of any kind, just the people.
Mm-hmm.
I was just in Louisville.
Yeah.
I was just in Louisville.
Oh, you should have stopped by.
Yeah, really? Yeah, we should have had lunch.
Yeah. All right, great to see all of you guys, and see you next weekend.
Yeah, good night.
Okay.
All right.
Good night.
See you soon.